Real ones, I got a question for you. Do you think that Ezekiel Elliott has already had a Hall of Fame career? Now, you might wonder first, what prompts this question? Okay, what prompts this? We know that Zeke uh, just got released by the Dallas Cowboys. Okay, and I saw a graphic online that got me to thinking. Okay, it shows a career comparison of Zeke Elliott and NFL Hall of Fame, or I should say Pro Football Hall of Famer, Terrell Davis. Okay, Zeke has played 7 seasons, and they look at Terrell Davis' 7 season career. Zeke has run for 8,262 yards. TD ran for 7,607 yards. Zeke has 80 touchdowns. TD has 60 touchdowns. Zeke has 305 receptions. TD has 169. Now, I will say TD has at least one MVP, and he has 2 Super Bowl victories. Okay. And I know in one of those Super Bowls, he probably Super Bowl MVP. I had to double check on that. Okay. But we need to talk about this. NFL fans and the No Cowboy Nation, y'all want to talk about this. We about to do that. And I have no one better to discuss this with than the man who I know knows more about the Dallas Cowboys than anybody I've ever met. Probably more than anybody you've ever met outside of the organization. And that is my brother, Ray Caesar Leo. Caesar. Y'all
You see it? That's not a graphic either. That's not a graphic. That is in the office. That's where it lives. Just to give y'all an idea of how serious the man is. I got Dak Prescott over here. I got a Cowboys helmet right here. I need to get something with Zeke to put right there. I got a Cowboys sign there. It's all over the place. Zeke needs to be up, though. He needs to be up on the wall as well.
Okay. Talk to me then, Caesar. I wanted to come to you for this. And I want to set this up before I let you go, because of course people might think, oh, of course, what is he gonna say? Look, he got a star behind his head. I want to talk to my brother about this because he is routinely objective when it comes to the Cowboys. Like he blew my mind the first time I heard him say that he thought Walter Payton was the greatest running back ever. I just knew he was gonna say Emmitt Smith. Okay, I just knew it. Emmitt Smith has the all-time rushing record.
Absolutely.
3 Super Bowls, MVP, and he's a Cowboys fan. But his objectivity made him say Walter Payton. So, and I know you championed Zeke early on in his career, and you called him the best in the game at that time. So,
for sure,
I was like, I wonder what the season think about this. And given what I said about TD, I wonder what the NFL world as a whole says about this, because I don't know if folks viewing Zeke like that right now. So, Caesar, what say you?
So when you asked me that question earlier, I thought about it in terms of who are the guys, right? Who are the guys of their generation? And so if I'm going to put Zeke in the conversation, he has to, one, be dominant. He has to, next thing he has to do is have an impact for his team. When he's on the field and when he's off the field, you got to see a clear difference, right? So you got to have those two. I made it a point to compare his numbers to Terrell Davis, because I think there's some similarities there, but I think there's some differences too. And then one of his contemporaries, which we'll get to in a minute. So I look at it like this. First and foremost, when Zeke hit the scene, he was unbelievable, right? Led the league in rushing his first year in the game. He had 1,631 yards. Head and shoulders, the best running back in the league in his rookie year. Dak won Rookie of the Year, but the best rookie in that class, the best performance, was Ezekiel Elliott. Without Ezekiel Elliott, the Cowboys would not go 13-3 that first year. Like, he was dominant. Mm-hmm. Zeke is also the guy who is the workhorse. That's what sets him apart from a lot of running backs. He can truly carry it. And the Dallas Cowboys forced him to carry the workload to make things easier for Dak. That's why Dak has such impressive numbers. To me, he is a direct benefactor of the success that Ezekiel had early on, because now teams were stacking the box, which allowed that to have one-on-one coverage all the time. So you see somebody have 1,631 yards, 15 touchdowns. Not to mention the fact he had 350 plus yards receiving. So he almost had 2,000 yards his rookie year, all purpose yards. He had another year of 1,400 yards and 560 reception yards. That's 2,000 yards of total offense, right? Another year, he goes and he has 1,357 rushing yards, 420 reception yards, 12 total touchdowns, 1,777 yards of total offense, right? Zeke's first 4 years, you can put him up against anybody. You can put him up against anybody. He had 1 year in those first 4. He only played 9 games in 2017. You know what happened? The Cowboys went from 13-3 to 9-7. So you see the drop off the moment he is not on the field, because you don't have to scheme for a game breaker. And that's truly what Ezekiel was. Zeke was a real game breaker. He had like top-notch speed. He had agility. Everybody knows he's a power back. You know what I'm saying? So he was complete. So all of those factors, all of those stats that I mentioned prove his worth, right? Proves that he deserves to be in a conversation where you start talking about putting him in a hall with some of the greats, with Walter Payton, with Jim Brown, with Emmitt Smith. The trouble is this: those guys had longevity. The problem with Ezekiel Elliott, and I don't really want to say it's his problem, it's just the nature of how he played and who he played for. The Cowboys knew he was great. They knew he was the bell cow, and he took pressure off of that. So 3 of the 5 years, his first 5, I want to say he led the league in touches. Like carrying the ball and catching out of the backfield. He had like 381 touches 1 year, 330 plus, 350 plus. Well, dude, nobody was even close to that in those seasons. So it shows you the amount of responsibility he had, but also the wear and tear that comes with that. He's a physical dude, man. He's a physical back. He doesn't shy away from contact. And so that took a toll on his body. And what you see last year, he played injured. He's tough as nails. Just didn't have that explosiveness. Still was a great, what I like to call short yardage, red zone back. Superior blocking skills on third down. You can keep him in the game. Like, he's still that guy when it comes to that. He just can't do it for the long haul. So that's kind of the issue with him. So you mentioned Terrell Davis. Personally, I think Terrell Davis' career is like the one that you always can use to like make a great argument for any running back, because he did not have longevity. He didn't. He had 4 great years, and the last 3 were trash. He was hurt. He played 2 games his 5th year, 2 games his 6th year, and I think 8 games his last year. And I got his stats written down here: 211 yards in 4 games, 282 yards in 4 games, 701 yards in 8 games. Those are his last 3 years. Now, you hear that and you're like, he played 7 years, those his last 3? Well, listen to his first 4, though. 1,117 yards with 7 touchdowns. 1,538 yards with 13 touchdowns. 1,750 yards with 15 touchdowns, and then 2,008 yards with 21 touchdowns. And he didn't miss a single game in that stretch. So that is why you see the production. He is available. They played in Super Bowls. He was a Super Bowl MVP, like you mentioned, and he was a 2-time Offensive Player of the Year. Do I think he was Offensive Player of the Year 2 times?
So he never got a regular season MVP, just Offensive Player of the Year?
No, he didn't. No, you're right. He won MVP in 1998. Okay. But you put all that together, even if he didn't have 7 strong years, well, the first 4 is like, yeah, this dude was getting it. Now, he played with John Elway, one of the greatest backs ever, probably the best offensive line in that little window where they were winning Super Bowls. It wasn't all him, but I'm not going to take that away from him. Like, those first 4 years, you can put it up against any back in history, and you can stand on it. You know what I mean? Like, it is what it is. Let's look at one of Zeke's contemporaries. I'm going to read you off some numbers. Ezekiel Elliott's total career numbers as of today. Let's say he stopped playing today. 82-62. That's how many rushing yards he has and 68 touchdowns. There's a counterpart drafted the same year as him that has 83, 35, and 78 touchdowns. So 10 more touchdowns, 100 more yards. That name is Derrick Henry. Derrick Henry's career is flipped when you talk about Ezekiel Elliott's career. Zeke came in red hot. They overused him, and now his body just doesn't respond. I don't want to say fortunately, but as fate would have it for Derrick Henry's career, he was hurt his first 2 years. So he played two games, back-to-back seasons. 490 yards, 744 yards. After that, he just started cooking. 1,000 yards, 1,540 yards, 2,027 yards. Played 8 games a year after that, 937 yards. Picked it back up last year, 1,538 yards. And we know Derrick Henry's not done. I know people are talking about he needs to be traded or they want to trade him. He's not done. He'll still be able to rush for 1,000 yards no matter where he goes because they will hand him the rock. But it's the same thing, man. Like if you flip those careers, both of these guys are top-notch backs. So if you can make the argument that Derrick Henry belongs in the Hall of Fame on where we are now, and I would agree right now, you could put Derrick Henry in the Hall of Fame. Then you should be able to put my guy Zeke in the Hall of Fame. If that's your argument. Unfortunately, my argument is this. Zeke got cooking very early on. Not his fault, but they overused him. And since his 4th season, he's just not been the same. And so I judge running backs harshly. It's not their fault. I just happen to be a fan of one of the top 5 running backs and the all-time leading rusher in Emmitt Smith. The greatest football player of all time is Walter Payton. Walter Payton didn't miss games. You got to believe he was injured from time to time, right? He played through those injuries. He figured it out. So I'm not going to give Zeke a pass because he played injured. The greatest football player of all time missed maybe 2 or 3 games and played injured and is now the 2nd all-time leading rusher. So I think Zeke, man, is one of the best of his generation, no doubt. No doubt about it. And his value for the Dallas Cowboys, I'm telling you, Dak Prescott doesn't get paid without Ezekiel Elliott. He just doesn't. He doesn't have those numbers to put up. He won't be able to kind of put the pressure on the Cowboys based on his on-field performance. I'm just telling you, without Ezekiel Elliott, the Cowboys do not have the success we've been having. And we haven't been winning, multiple playoff games, but we're relevant again. And that is because of Ezekiel Elliott. Dak Prescott, too, and the drafting and all of that. But Ezekiel Elliott made that possible, man. I'm going to give him his flowers because at the end of the day, I know the nuances of the Dallas Cowboys offense and how you have to have a running back who can block on 3rd down. We're putting our hope in Tony Pollard. Tony Pollard is a horrible pass blocker. Horrible. I hope he works on it in the offseason after he heals up. But he can't do what Zeke does. Zeke is a true every down back. Tony Pollard is not. There aren't too many backs you can say are every down back. Christian McCaffrey, yes, he's an every down back in terms of having him on the field as a weapon, but he can't pass block for you. He's not a short yardage back. And I don't care what you say. He's not. He can't stay healthy. You know what I mean? Like there's Zeke, there's Derrick Henry, and then you may be able to sprinkle in a guy who has a good season every now and then. But when we talk about the direct impact, when you got to come in and game plan for a guy, rival teams in the NFC East would tell you early on, we weren't trying to stop Dak. We're trying to stop Zeke, make Dak beat us. So if his counterparts, if his contemporaries say that, then that should tell you what his value is, man.
Now, as you were talking, you made me think about another back who's in the Hall of Fame. He's on everybody's greatest running backs ever list. But you were talking about the physicality of Zeke, excuse me.
Yeah.
So you made me think about Earl Campbell. And Zeke ain't too far off in terms of numbers. Earl Campbell.
It's a great note. That's a great note, man.
Now, Zeke has played 103 games. Earl, for his career, played 115 games. Okay. On average per game, Earl went for 77 yards. Zeke is gone for 72. Not far off at all. Okay. He had 2,187 rushes in his career. Zeke is at 1,881. Now, I'm assuming somebody else gonna pick Zeke up.
For sure. And look, let me make that note too. I'm giving this to you as if nobody picks him up. I personally believe that Ezekiel Elliott can still play in this league today. Why? Because I just told you he can still be an every down back. with the exception of this.
Mm-hmm.
If you sign him, you definitely should have a speed back, somebody who can be more of a game breaker, right? That's why Tony Pollard works so well with him as a change of pace. But if you just need Zeke to come in, man, and give you 800 to on the low end, 1100 on the high end, if he can stay healthy, he can still do that. I think he can still do that next season. I think he can give somebody around 1,000 yards and 10 touchdowns. He had 12 this year, and he was the number 2 back in our system.
If he gets to around what you say, 1,100,
yeah,
he'll be right on Earl Campbell coattail. Earl Campbell had 9,407 yards. Okay. Yeah. And Zeke is at 8,262. Yeah. Okay. And then in terms of touchdowns, all he needs is 6 more.
All he needs 6 more. And listen, I'll say this.
Earl Campbell. We talking about
it, and I'll take it a step further. That's Earl Campbell when the objective in the game was to be physical and give this man the rock. Right? Yeah. That was the offense. We're in an age now where we all know it's a pass first league. Now, if Ezekiel Elliott gets to 10,000 career rushing yards, which is doable, by the way, it's doable. If he can play 2 more seasons, he's gonna, in my personal opinion, he's gonna get to 10,000 yards. In the era that he came up in, you cannot tell me that 10,000 total rushing yards is not an impressive feat. Where guys are throwing for 5,000 yards and 50 touchdowns, you got a guy who can say, I ran for 10,000 yards in a pass-happy league. I think at that point, it is definitely worth consideration. First ballot, nope. Will it take some years? Sure. But if my guy gets to 10,000 yards, Ezekiel Elliott deserves to be in the Hall of Fame.
Now, his rookie season, Zeke had more rushes than Earl Campbell. Zeke had 322 to Earl's 302. Now, Earl, he played in 15 games, started 14, and Zeke played and started in 15. Yeah. Okay. But Earl came back that next year, had 368 rushes.
Tough,
okay. Again, the running back was the name of the game back then.
That's all
right. Zeke never had that many rushes. Yeah. And that ain't Earl's high.
Oh, it's not.
The next year, his third season, that's when Earl totaled that thing 373 times.
That's insane, man.
For 1,934 yards.
That's insane.
And he was getting you 5 a clip. They wasn't just handing to that guy was getting you something. Okay.
Mr. Campbell was a bad man.
His first 4 seasons, like you saying about Zeke 4 seasons.
Yeah.
Earl went 1,450, 1,697, 1,934, 1,376. Must have got hurt next year.
Yeah.
Seemed like that next year with guys. So he only had 1 more 1,000-yard year after that.
Yeah.
Which is another reason why these guys got to get paid up front. Just come out the gate. It'll be better for the team as well as the player. Because y'all end up giving Zeke money that he didn't deserve because he wasn't getting the money that he deserved when he was going crazy.
It was like a thank you for all of your hard work and production deal. Yeah. And while I'm glad it happened for Zeke, let me be on record for that. I'm glad because of all the value, like I said, that he brought in those first 4 years. Without him, we don't get a chance to have this success. So you got to pay him. But the problem with that is now you got to send him away when this man deserves to play his career with the Dallas Cowboys. Maybe he's not the starter for his entire career. Maybe Tony Pollard is on the way up, right? I'm cool with that. The league is about competition and about the best man being on the field.
Was it any rumblings or
no.
Okay.
And if it was, it was never made public. Zeke, for all of the things people wanted to nitpick about with him early on in his career, and rightly so, he was making some bonehead decisions off the field. On the field, Zeke has been nothing but a professional and one of the best teammates that anybody on that squad franchise can say that they've had. Why? Because he plays hurt, plays with torn ligaments in his knee. You get what I'm saying? He shows up every day for practice. He doesn't care who gets more touches. He knows that when he gets his, he'll make it work. Right. I told you. He was definitely our second best back this year, and he still had 12 touchdowns. Why? Because when the game was on the line in the red zone, you still going to 2-1 because you know he'll convert. He's got that in him. He still does. If this man can heal to a point where you don't expect him to carry it 300 times, I'm just telling you, he's got the dog still in him to make it work. And my only hope is that he doesn't make it work in the NFC East. I prefer he go play in the AFC somewhere and get it done. But I'll be rooting for him wherever he goes, as long as it's not the NFC. He go to the NFC, forget about it. My rule is this.
Well, we go to them Eagles.
My rule is this. I am a diehard Cowboys fan first. Okay. I want these young men to get their money, get it every time, because as you just said, when it's your time, they'll send you home. You get what I'm saying?
Y'all do that.
So get your money. Don't worry about how it affects Ray on Sundays, because we dealing with salary cap issues. Go get your money.
Right.
But with all that being said, Ezekiel Elliott, Dak Prescott, CeeDee Lamb, if any of them go to the filthy Eagles or the Washington whatevers, or
the Washington whatever,
or the New York Giants, if it
what that boy disgusting.
I need you to understand.
That ain't disgusting.
People ask me all the time. My wife and I, we talk about. My wife's a Cowboys fan. Folks who know that I just love the Cowboys, they say, "Who do you hate the most?"
Right.
I say, "Well, just line up the NFC East and then everybody else." So I'll just give you my order of NFC East, if you don't mind.
Okay.
Philadelphia Eagles, New York Giants, Washington whatever. And then we can start getting into who else. Dude.
Oh, I know who come after that. It's the Pittsburgh Steelers after that. I already know that.
No doubt. You know that because you're my brother. Yeah. But man, NFC East, I'm always gonna root for Cowboys. When DeMarcus Ware left the Cowboys and went and played for the Broncos and won his Super Bowl, I was so happy for him, because he gave everything that he had to the Cowboys. He was all pro, one of the best pass rushers, going into the Hall of Fame now. You know what I mean? You got to respect that, man. You give everything you got. Who am I to look at another man and say you don't have a right to go and try to win? Just because Jerry Jones don't want to win don't mean you don't want to win. So I say the same thing for Zeke. Zeke, just don't go to the Eagles, Giants, or Washington, whatever's. I would even say he can go to another team that I highly dislike, and I would be okay. Don't do it. Go play for the Chiefs. The Chiefs need a short yardage back. Go play with Pat Mahomes. Go play with Pat, man. I don't know if they have the money. I don't care about their salary cap, but go play for them. Go play for the Seahawks. Like, do that. Go somewhere where you know that they'll understand what you can bring to the team. And I think the real value for Zeke at this stage in his career is that while he has a lot of miles, once you get in that red zone, I'm telling you, there's nobody. There is somebody. There are other guys in the league that can do it. But on this free agent market, there ain't a running back in the league that wouldn't be able to produce in the red zone like my boy Zeke can. I just believe that. I believe in him. I believe in his work ethic and his desire for what he still has left in the tank.
All right, last question on this then.
Yep.
And while you're answering, I'm gonna be trying to look some up, but I'm trying to see if you think if he reaches 10,000 yards, or let's just say now, forget it. Right now, has the man done enough, in your opinion, to be a first ballot Hall of Famer? Because TD, if I'm not mistaken, I'm gonna double check as you're answering. If I'm not mistaken, TD is a first ballot Hall of Famer. Terrell Davis, who I'm talking about. Okay.
Yeah. I think he is.
The Pro Football, whoever votes on it would be crazy if Earl Campbell ain't. And I told you that Zeke is already approaching that. So if I find out Earl Campbell ain't, okay. All right. So do you think he's already done enough to be first ballot? And if not, which ballot would you take him in on?
He's not a first ballot Hall of Famer. I can't sit here and make the argument that he deserves to go in right now, because his numbers, they match Terrell Davis, but Terrell Davis can say, I'm an MVP, I'm a 2-time offensive player of the year, I'm a Super Bowl MVP, and I was a major reason why we won 2 Super Bowls. So even if the dominance is there, even if I could come on here and make an argument for the dominance, I can't make an argument for the impact, the accolade part of it. So no, but And I'm not a fan of like meaningless yardage, but I do think in the case of a running back, they need to see 10, 11K. I think if you see that, then people maybe will take into account that, oh, now we can have a conversation about Zeke. And now let's look at the whole resume. In the beginning of Zeke's career, he was the bread and butter of the Dallas Cowboys. And then maybe on the back end, he lost a step, but his longevity maybe pushes him in. So when you say which ballot, it's not first. I don't even know if he gets in, but if I am hopeful as a fan, and if Zeke is blessed enough, it doesn't matter what ballot. Just get that man in there. I personally hate when I see these old guys, man, when they bring them back and they're like in their 80s, or they had to give it to them posthumously, and a family member comes up. I hate that.
That'd be the terrible.
I hate that, man, because you see these clips of these guys and their contemporaries saying, "Man, this guy was unstoppable. This guy was lethal." Well, if the generation says he was the man, we're not asking, is he the greatest player of all time? We're asking, is he one of the dogs of his generation? And that's all that matters. And I personally think that Ezekiel Elliott is one of the dogs of his generation. So we need to have that conversation, because if you write the history of the Dallas Cowboys in this era of his time, he is a major focal point offensively. He is the major focal point.
Well, you sure enough right about that when they putting them cats in after they leave this world. We
It's
got
tough,
one from
man.
Canton, Mississippi, who deserves to be in.
Yep.
LC Greenwood
Yep.
from the Steel Curtain defense. Okay. Go look them up, America. Okay.
Yeah.
And I know this is a Cowboy segment, so I know some Cowboys
No,
ain't
but you're
like
right. But you're right.
But I got them really ripping for the hometown. All right, but I just looked it up, and this is my reference is futurefootballlegends.com. So it was the first thing that popped up when I typed in typed in first ballot Hall of Fame running backs. Okay. So if this is wrong, it's on them. Okay. So I'm just perusing and looking up, okay, who was first ballot Hall of Famer, and Terrell Davis didn't make it. Okay. And what probably hit him was, like you said, the longevity. Because that 4 years, that's a hell of a resume for 4 years.
That first four, you can put that first four up against anybody, man. I'm telling you.
But when it comes to the running back position that's on here, okay, these are the kind of names I'm seeing as first ballot. You got Jim Brown, of course.
Mr. Brown.
Okay. Gail Sayers ain't have longevity.
Did not. But it's like the rules change. That's what I'm saying. It's like the rules change.
But these old head love some Gail Sayers, brother. I gotta go look up some Gail. I've seen a few highlights, but these old heads act like Gail Sayers was the smoothest runner of the football of all time.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? But he's first ballot. Okay. Now some of these cats, I don't know. So I'm just gonna name the guys that that people would know for real.
Sure.
From that position. Now you get on up some of these years. Now then you didn't do no name like.
Go ahead and say it. I already see the look on your face. Go ahead and say his name. Go ahead. I'll say it for you. O.J. Simpson, first ballot.
Juice, I want to interview you. Hey, I want to know how it felt to be a first ballot Hall of Famer, man.
And a little more too.
And
a little more too.
But But he was on them. Earl Campbell was okay. Yeah. Walter Payton.
Yes, sir.
Tony Dorsett.
Yeah. Okay. Again, Tony Dorsett has the championships. He has the championships to go by. But when you talk about that production and being dominant in a window, the Cowboys were the dominant team of the early to mid 70s. Dolphins, Steelers, right? But the running backs, Franco Harris, Tony Dorsett, these are the names. That's what I mean. Like when you go by somebody's era, were you the dog of that era?
Franco's on here, but they got Franco listed at fullback. That's why I missed it. I'm just scanning looking for RB. They got Franco. Okay, they got Franco. Yep. So, but you said Dorsett got them titles.
He does. He
If
does.
Zeke had got the titles, then you might think
No
he would.
question. Listen,
Okay.
when you win a Super Bowl as a Cowboy and you have, I don't even want to say amazing numbers. If you have really good numbers, you're going in.
That's why I was about to say, will that Cowboy mystique help him go ahead and get it? But Dorsett, you say got the title. Okay.
Yeah, yeah. Man, I'm telling you, let me say this. If he had a title, if he had one title, I would be so comfortable coming on your show and being like, yeah, he's going in.
Yeah. Okay.
He's going in. Maybe not first ballot, but he will be there.
All right, Eric Dickerson. Okay, we know him.
Absolutely.
Marcus Allen, Barry Sanders, Emmitt Smith, Marshall Faulk, LaDainian Tomlinson.
Mm-hmm.
So it seemed like you had to be the generational back.
Yes.
To get that. You know what I'm saying?
And to me, it's going to be harder now for running backs to get in because the way the game is played, you're not going to have backs that are head and shoulders above everybody. Like if you ask 10 people who's the best running back in the league, man, you could get like 5 different answers. You could say Derrick Henry, Christian McCaffrey, depending on what style of play you like. You know, like you may say, what's your guy's name up in Green Bay? I think he's a phenomenal back, always producing numbers.
Mm-hmm. Aaron
Jones, phenomenal back.
Mm-hmm.
But every year is somebody different.
We forgetting the Colts, boy. Folks was riding him
for a minute.
Colts because he had won the rushing title. Not in 2022.
Jonathan Taylor.
Jonathan Taylor.
Yeah, Jonathan Taylor.
Cook up there in Minnesota. Some people like him. So you're right.
But none of these guys just step out and become that generational.
You ain't got a lot of. They won't let them be bell cows no more, man.
Won't let them do it. The game is different. So I don't even know if we're going to see a lot of running backs because if you strictly base it off of numbers, none of these guys are going to have the number. Derrick Henry may get up to that point if he remains healthy because he's big enough to take the punishment.
Yeah.
But like Dalvin Cook is always hurt. Christian McCaffrey is always hurt. Your guy stays pretty healthy. But like, you see what I mean? Like, you got to have a guy, man, that can go 8 to 10 years. Running backs don't do that anymore. Like, that's not even a thing you would ask a running back to do is be dominant for 8 to 10 years. That's why I think Emmitt Smith is one of the top 5. Not because he was better than Barry Sanders, but because he was always available for a decade.
Mm-hmm.
And that is the makings of a true running back, to be available and to tote the rock, as we say down here, tote that rock 3 downs if we need it. And that's who Emmitt Smith was. That's who Walter Payton was. Walter Payton was the entire offense. Again, go and Google Walter Payton's receivers when they won the Super Bowl, or just for the 80s, and see if any of them have relevancy. No disrespect, if anybody's watching, this guy family that were Chicago Bears wide receivers, but you get what I'm saying.
Throwing shade to Bears is always welcome.
Oh, you don't mind that? Yeah, you know what? You don't mind that.
Walter Payton is the only good thing ever happened to that disastrous franchise. The only good thing.
This man had no receivers and a quarterback that was more known for his headband and attitude versus his skill set. You get what I'm saying?
Right.
So again, that's why I say he's the greatest of all time. But you know, like I said, put a ball on it for Zeke, man. Zeke has had a great career. And again, I still think he has more left in the tank. Unfortunately, the way this game is played today and the way deals are done today, he doesn't get to have that storybook career like Tony Dorsett, like Emmitt Smith, where he gets a chance to have a long career with the Cowboys. But to me, he's forever a Cowboy. I know that when he says he's done, whenever he chooses that day to be, he'll sign a 1-day contract. He'll retire as a Cowboy. He'll go up in our ring of honor. He'll get in there before Jimmy Johnson, because Jerry Jones never gonna put Jimmy Johnson in there, even though he said he was. Y'all gotta come
off of that, man. Y'all gotta go ahead.
Even though he said he was, you know. But yeah, man. Much respect to Ezekiel Elliott, man. Like I said, just a real guy that not only dominated on the field, but acknowledged his flaws off the field. And say what you will, like, he really tried to keep his head down and work and just be a good teammate. And that's all anybody can ask for. Be a professional and produce when we expect you to. So much respect to Ezekiel Elliott.
All right, well, real ones, y'all chime in now. Whatever your team is, okay? Chime in. Let us know if you think Zeke Elliott has already done enough to be a Pro Football Hall of Famer. And What do y'all think he'll end up? Do you think your team might pick him up, whoever that may be? All right, let us know. Put it on something.
Thank you so much for watching my daddy's YouTube channel. Make sure you like, share, and turn on your post notifications. Okay, how do I do it?